Welcome back to our continuing YouTube video series on going to law school. My name's Christopher Neufeld of Neufeld Legal, and in this particular YouTube video, we're going to be looking at your career choices out of law school. Now, when you're looking at your career choices, you got to understand that the legal profession that you're moving into has a multiplicity of streams, even within the very distinct areas of criminal law, family law, corporate law, real estate law, so on and so forth. And you have to be making judgments and assessments as you move forward in planning your courses and setting yourself up for who you will work for at the commencement of your career. So why is it so important to look at these aspects? Well, there's a couple factors that you have to consider. One of the major factors is the availability of positions in your most desired legal profession aspect. So let's take, for example, a lot of people are environmentalists. How many environmental lawyers are there? Are there really a lot of environmental lawyers out there who are working, so to speak, to benefit the environment? You have to be a real activist with a deep passion, in my opinion, to be doing that, because it leads to our second aspect, which is remuneration, how much you're getting paid. Because the environmental lawyers who are activists, who have a deep passion for it, are not necessarily going to be paid a whole heck of a lot of money. Why do I say that? Because either they're working on the government side or they're working on the activist side. And in both aspects, there is not a lot of money to go around. The pay is on the corporate side, the big law firms who are defending the environmental actions of their big, wealthy corporate clients. Activism does not generate lots of money. There are many mediums with which they draw money, but it's spread out so far and so thin that you're not looking at having a great salary unless you luck out. Another aspect is the number of opportunities. In discussing this, we'll focus on the area of criminal law. Being a prosecutor sounds like a great thing to be. However, there's only a certain number of prosecutors out there. Prosecutors don't necessarily want to leave their position unless they're moving up in the ranks and moving into judgeships or other positions that are even fewer and farther apart. So what's left on the criminal side? Well, you go onto the criminal defense side. And a lot of the people on the prosecution side, unless they want to stay constrained and stay subservient to the few people that are moving up, are going to find themselves stuck in the prosecutorial side at the lower rungs because there just are not the opportunities. So you have to assess what kind of opportunities are available where you're at. Will you have to move about? And if you move about, how difficult will it be to get moving up the chain of command to get to a better position? And taking on that criminal aspect, if the opportunity is not available to yourself, if the money's not doing you well, especially if you start a family and have children and you have other bills to pay, do you really want to be going on the defense side? Because on the defense side, you have a range of issues coming up. Do you want to be defending hardened criminals, drug dealers, rapists, murderers, if you can get those people? Because they're not the people who have the greatest sympathy towards their lawyers when they don't get the results they want. The fact of the matter is, very many of them are probably guilty, and a large part of what you're doing is trying to lessen the sentence or find technicalities to relieve them of a large part, if not all, of the sentence. But if you don't, and they feel they need vindication for your bad work, I've heard and seen too many stories of criminal lawyers and their staffs being attacked, being assaulted by their former clients who felt they were not effectively represented by their lawyers. You gotta remember, oftentimes a lot of these individuals don't have a lot of money, so you're gonna be spending a lot of time working on the cases, and they expect you to put even more time irrespective of the fact that it's not going to be paying you. So there's a balancing act there that you also have to consider that comes into play. Now we move to another area. Insurance lawyers. Insurance lawyers used to be a great area to be practicing in, especially in the United States, because the insurance law firms, well, the insurance companies would be paying the insurance law firms lots and lots of money with respect to the opportunities there. However, the insurance companies have scaled back radically in the last couple of decades as to how much they pay the lawyers who are representing them. They have very stringent quotas and pay schedules that make it not the lucrative profession it once was anymore. So you have to understand that. And similarly, on the defense side, you can go work for a defense firm, but you also have to understand that eventually you're probably going to need to start your own insurance, well, it's not defense firm, but insurance prosecution firm for accidents and other injuries, because who's going to be taking all the money? The people who are promoting at the top of the law firm. Always a consideration. Moving on to another aspect, let's talk about real estate. Real estate has become largely dictated on the residential side by the realtors, because the realtors push their clients towards certain real estate lawyers. And they typically are those real estate lawyers who operate on the basis of working most of the real estate transactions on the residential side through their clerks and assistants. So there's oftentimes you'll see 5 non-lawyers working for a single real estate lawyer, even more than that on real estate transactions, because it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of phone calls, and a lot of standard process. The lawyer just comes in at the beginning and at the end. So the opportunities there are limited, especially when the prices have been brought down so much by this push to get the cheapest real estate lawyer on board for a realtor's transactions. Because a realtor is focused on their commissions, and therefore they want to be using a real estate lawyer that's going to be keeping their prices down and just pushing it out, so that the bill that their client sees, the purchaser or the seller of the real estate, is not overwhelmed by both the commission from the realtor and the fee from the real estate lawyer, but by reducing the real estate lawyer's fee substantially. The only substantive fee is a commission, and that's a bit easier for a client to assume. So what are you going to be focusing on there? Well, then you might be focusing more on real estate litigation as well as commercial real estate. But these also tend to be the purview of the large law firms, so you have to understand the availability of those opportunities. A lot of opportunity searching here. Family law, divorces, matrimonial issues, child custody. You gotta remember, there's only so much money that people have in the community. You have to understand the demographics. But also on this one, it's more the emotional side that you have to consider. Do you want to be walking away, or are you capable of walking away at the end of the day and forgetting all the emotional baggage that people have in their family law matters? That's a very real consideration that you have to be putting in place. Maybe you take the time, as with anything else, to go through and sit down, spend time with a family lawyer. Spend time with a real estate lawyer. Spend time in court. Spend time with a corporate lawyer. Just get a sense of what they actually do on a day-to-day, because it's very, very different from what you see on TV. And that even goes for corporate lawyers in the business sphere. Though they're, especially in big cities like New York where I used to work, it's a really tough slog. They work you to the bone because they know they can work you to the bone. And that means long, long, long hours. Lots of hours, lots of days. Oftentimes you're looking at 6, sometimes 7 days a week you're working well into the night. That's what the expectation is, because the corporate clients are paying the big money, and the lawyers at the bottom are doing what the lawyers at the top used to do, which is pay for the more senior lawyers' retirement plans, their opportunities, the expensive leases that they have in the city, and a whole host of other costs that they incur. And it's gotten tougher for the corporate lawyers, especially in the big city, because the big corporate companies, they want to have the work done by the most senior lawyers, because the senior lawyers are inevitably going to be working on any project, even the ones that start off with new associates. So they believe that they should not be the ones who are training these new associates. That's the function of the law schools, which is not done necessarily. So it's the function of the law firms, and they're not going to be paying for it. So you see more and more of these big, large corporate clients, especially banks, telling law firms that they're not really going to pay for much, if not any, of the first year and second year lawyers, because their work is only going to go so far, and they're still going to have to get reviewed by the more senior lawyer. That's a reality. Furthermore, with automation and technology, a lot of the work that lawyers used to do is no longer necessarily needing to be done, or is done in a fraction of time, or all too often is done by law clerks and paralegals and legal assistants, because the work is either capable of being done by a keystroke, sending it through and requesting it from another service provider, which doesn't require any lawyers to operate, or alternatively is just using a template, and the true modifications can be swiftly made by the lawyer who understands what all the precedents are, what are the modifications based on even a 20-minute conversation with the client. So you really see that there is a lot of difference to, at least in my perspective, what might be perceived and what you have to understand is a reality. The reality is very stark and different. The legal profession is still a great opportunity, but you have to be realistic about it. You need to understand what the challenges are in whatever path you're taking. And you need to spend the time to understand what those challenges are relative to the direction you're planning to go after law school. Whether it's in respect to money, availability of positions, expectations, where that area of the profession is going, such that in each one of these areas, you really need to spend the time studying your future. You're investing so much time already in university. Now you're investing even more time with law school, that you should really take the time to really consider and understand what the segments that you want to pursue are looking like now and what they will look like going forward. Because that is the best way to make the most out of your career and truly enjoy your career, because you're setting yourself up for success if you understand the direction you're going in and the direction you're aiming to realize. I hope you found this YouTube video informative and helpful. I wish you all the best in your law school career, And we always appreciate when you like this video, you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also that you comment on this particular YouTube video, such that we can improve upon it in the years to come, and we can also address the questions and concerns that you as a law student would have going forward in your law school years and into your legal profession. Thank you.